Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for hanging with me on this Monday. And if you've taken some time out of your busy schedules to support the channel, I really do appreciate that. All right, so we are getting into what I would consider a transition period from the summer to the fall. And what you will notice on your lake is the fish that have lived out near the main river channel, and it's bluegill, bass, bait fish, they're all starting to move towards the creek. So I did a video a couple days ago about the creek channels. If you have some windy, narrow creek channels that are near the main river, this is where a lot of your fish are going to start. And they're going to be there for not too long, and they're going to start moving into the creek. So this is a pinch point where a lot of fish are going to be hanging out. Now, what I think happens this time of year is they're moving shallow because of the bait, but you also have a thermocline. You also have people that have been fishing for them out near the main lake for so long. So they're starting to come shallow. And depending on what your lake is like, if you have steep banks, points, and drains and little things that are, right on that creek channel, you're going to have a lot of fish that are going to gang up on those. If you have grass in your lake, you're going to have steeper grass lines. You're going to have grass that's topped out in 5 feet of water, and then the creek channel is going to swing right up next to that, and you get a boat length off and you're in 12 feet of water. So what typically happens is those bass are going to use that grass line edge. Now, since you have grass that is topped out, here's the surface of the water, here's the grass, and the bass are sitting right here, you really can't bring a worm through there. You almost have to drop something right on their head. So if it's a heavy flipping jig, some type of Texas rig with a heavier weight, like a 3/4 or an ounce, maybe a drop shot, like a power shotting technique, you need something that will fall quickly and get down to those fish, because a Texas rig worm that lands up here is not ever going to get to the fish that are right here. Here's the edge of the grass and the fish are sitting right here. So for that, these fish really like a jig and they really like the edge of the grass. And it just seems like bites on a jig compared to bites on a worm, there's like a year or two difference in the size of the fish. So you're looking at like average 2.5 to 4 pound fish that bite a jig, and 1.5 to 2 3/4 pounds that bite a worm this time of year. The worm bite seems like it's fizzling, and as we move into the fall, the jig bite is improving. And I think a lot has to do with the way the fish set up. And if you don't have grass in your lake, and the same scenario with the creek channels that are running in and off your main river back into the creeks, you may have a football head, but it always seems like as we get into September, the worm bite no longer plays, but you will see a jig bite. It's not just a flipping jig. Sometimes it's a football head or a structure head jig, but it is a jig. So this time of year, when my worm rods are not going to produce anymore, I cut those baits off and I start trying a bunch of other jigs. So structure jig by striking is a really good jig that you can fish, not only on structure, but you can also fish it around grass. It's a very, not just a one-dimensional jig. It's very versatile. You can swim it. There's a lot of things you can do with that jig. So that's one I really like to tie on this time of year. Your 1 ounce flipping jigs, I've done some videos recently about those. And it is all about a jig as we move further. Now, I'm not a big jig guy earlier in the summer, but as we move in, your flipping jigs and your structure jigs are really going to start to play. So this is the time when I start to rig them up as the bait fish and the fish start to move off the main lake and back into the creeks. And those bigger fish, resident fish that live in the creeks, they will also start showing up. So this is a good time to get around the fish, really start to realize there's not a whole lot going out here on the main lake. There's a big population of fish that are moving. To get on those, very important, and then to start looking in your creeks, because those fish are going to start showing up. So try that, guys. Good luck to you, and I'll see you on the water.